that I think political parties, governments and the civil service need to deal with if we are genuinely going to benefit from the internet age. The first is we've got to get a settled view that the internet is a force for good. Every one of us in this room know that the internet is a force for good. Everyone in the civil service, in government and political parties says that the internet is a force for good, but our behaviour as vested interests quite often is counter to that. And what I found as a minister is there is veneer upon veneer upon veneer of people who want to go down this line, but they think the internet revolution should benefit other people and not their particular area of work. So do not underestimate the challenge that we have in trying to bring open a new era of accountability, a digitally engaged democracy in the United Kingdom. And you know, there is a micro-industry in doing documentaries on the effects of the Gutenberg press these days. You know, the Gutenberg press killed a lot of people whilst its disruptive technologies, the force of its disruptive technology was being felt around Europe. And it took about a century for Western Europe to recognise that it was probably a good thing. I would contend this morning that we actually need to advance our thinking on the internet a little bit quicker than waiting for a century. But we need to, the challenge there is for the political parties to show leadership. Now, strangely, in the sort of, in the junior level sort of cat and mouse act that Adam and I had, we managed to play, I suspect, and perhaps Adam can't be as candid as I can be now, we did a bit of sort of managing up with our political masters so that the cat and mouse act that they're having over data repositories, data.gov and stuff is actually moving this agenda on and forcing progress, and I would hope that all of us in this room could contribute to that process. The second, which I think is important and not to be underestimated, is we need to have a government where tolerance of failure is more accepted. You know, we have to craft public services that are finely tuned at scale on day one, and there isn't a single industry that kind of level of expectation can be met. And the one thing I've learned in the last 18 months in talking to digital startups is just test it. If it doesn't work, bin it, scale it up if it works. And in government, we've got to release some of that latent innovation that sits at all layers. And you know, the battles I had to say, why don't we let innate digital users in the middle ranks in the civil service use the social networking tools they find as part of their daily communications, to their daily lives, was ridiculous. Right? The truth is, any civil servant that wants to be on Facebook or use instant messaging should now be able to use it. And we shouldn't let an HR manager or an IT security expert or a line manager decide that that is the case. People can innovate using these tools. It creates a huge sort of sense of ownership of a problem that people can then sort of take to, and you know, we should all commit ourselves to those kind of things. And the third is just thinking about government differently. And Adam alluded to this. I want to see a government that sees itself as the curator of the nation's information assets. And yes, The Guardian led the way on this with the Free Our Data campaign. And yes, Adam is right that we do need to release more data more quickly in open formats and open standards that people accept. And yes, I'm sorry if OS are here today, it is totally unacceptable that we cannot get mapping data for the digital industries in a format that lets them go away and do clever things that help us grow the economy. It's just unacceptable, I'm afraid. And what I would say is, though, Adam, and this is a challenge to the shareholder executive and probably my colleagues in government, I would say it is also unacceptable to contemplate privatising Ordnance Survey, because what you are doing will be giving a publicly owned monopoly to a privately owned monopoly like Google. And what we need to do is have a much more inspired and sensitive and thoughtful view about what we do with data. I'm having great fun on the back bench. I've just put in a load of PQs today asking Peter Mandelson how many post boxes there are in the United Kingdom. He's going to, for the first time, he's going to think I'm slightly eccentric. I'm asking all ministers what inventories they've got of non-personal databases in their department. There are things we can do between us to sort of just help enlighten enlighten sort of the people that can make decisions about this agenda. And from the backbenches, I'm going to use all that leverage I can. But I would say that where I think Adam and I really do genuinely share an agenda is this is a generational issue. And there are political leaders within the Lib Dems, within the Conservative Party and within the Labour Party where, you know, we can have a row about ideology and we can try and wrap this agenda up into an ideology. He would call it the post-bureaucratic age, I would call it the responsive state. You know, but actually this is just about doing good things with new tools that didn't exist in 1997 to make people's lives better. And we should all applaud that.